What's going on, Clippers fans? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 69 of Clips and Dip. I am Chuck Mockler, joined by Adam Osland. Usually Will Updike is with us. He is unavoidably detained. We are your probably favorite Clippers podcast. I would have, if I had to guess, I would hope so. We're getting you ready for the playoffs. We had a really in-depth preview earlier in the week. Today we're going to be talking the Kawhi non-news and how it's maybe making people go crazy. We're going to talk some X Factor stuff. We're going to talk some keys to victory. But thank you for joining us on audio, on video. We have a video-specific segment. So if you're not watching these pods, you do get some of the full experience over there too, especially when we do the high five, which we're going to do with Adam Osland. But I've been talking too much to start this. Adam, before we get into the Clippers stuff, how are you doing on this Friday evening, 36-ish hours before the Clippers kick off their series against the Dallas Mavericks?
I feel good. Good week to recharge. Had a fun barbecue with you and Will yesterday. We had a little C&D get together. It was a fun time. So
Trying to de-stress, but I don't know if it helped.
I felt better about it by the time I left for whatever reason.
Sure.
I felt like,
Yeah,
good
weird.
food, good friends. It
Yeah.
was a good time.
Most people leave my barbecues feeling pretty happy about everything.
Yeah. Full stomach, full
Yeah.
eyes, clear eyes, can't
Smooth
lose.
brains, sure.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm feeling semi-ready, I think, which is kind of a good way to describe how Kawhi Leonard is maybe feeling. If you're listening to this podcast and you missed what happened this week, you're a very interesting fan. But so on Thursday, there was a whole whirlwind of information. Thursday, Shams reported that Kawhi got an injection and that there was cautious optimism he was ready for day one due to, I believe, the phrasing in the world of explosive box jumps for the real Clipper heads out there was intense workouts, right?
Correct.
That was earlier in the morning on Thursday. Then Lawrence Frank did something that is never a good sign, which is do a press conference for the media seemingly out of nowhere, which I think we talked about on this podcast. I think I mentioned like a couple weeks ago, I hope we don't get a Lawrence Frank presser.
No, we definitely said that after the first pod we did after we heard about the right knee inflammation, and we thought, okay, maybe there will be more clarity before the Clippers' next home game after they return from the road trip. The last game Kawhi played in was that game in Charlotte. Then they were in Sacramento. They were back at Crypto. And yeah, we were like, well, just hope it's not one of those Lawrence Frank press conferences that we have gotten twice so far, at least twice, pertaining to Kawhi Leonard and that right knee. So we've been on top of this for the most part. We've been telling people for weeks. I'm only going to say this once, but you might want to pay attention to some of the stuff we say on this show. You might want to pay attention to some of the stuff we say on this show. When I've been mentioning for 2 weeks that there's no way to know, Kawhi Leonard can't know at this point. It's inflammation. It's unpredictable. And it's his right knee. Well, what did Lawrence Frank tell you at that presser? The exact same thing that I'd been saying for 2 weeks here, trying to prep people. I'm not trying to sell any false hope. I'm not trying to set anyone up for disappointment. I'm trying to give you the reality of the situation. Yes, it's coming from me. It's my reality and how I view things, but I'm trying to be honest about it and the state of Kawhi Leonard. And I think we've been right on with our discussion about this and where things could go. And if you want to proceed now with some of the stuff that Lawrence Frank said, and we can play some of it too here, Chuck, we can do that.
We have the technology to do that. Yeah, we should play it because it's just, I mean, again, you've probably heard this at this point, but it's just more uncertainty. And uncertainty at Thursday afternoon when game one is Sunday at 12:30 with no practice on Friday, the day we're recording this, feels not ideal.
It's uncertainty because it's the human body and nobody knows how it's going to respond.
But I thought
it wouldn't be any different for, I just don't know what people thought was going to come out of this. As
Right.
if they could know for sure when Kawhi is going to be available when you're talking about inflammation and stubborn inflammation that is yet to subside. I don't know what people were looking for.
And just before we get into the quotes, I'm not expecting Kawhi to play game one. It's not. That just doesn't. We'll get into the quotes, but I'm not expecting that based on scuttlebutt, based on everything Lawrence Frank told all of us directly. Adam, which quote do we have first for these fine listeners?
I think this would back up your logic here because this is Lawrence Frank being asked what steps Kawhi Leonard would have to take before he played in a game. And this is coming from @FollowAdamA on X, formerly known as Twitter here.
Lawrence, what are the steps of him getting the inflammation down to the level that you guys would be comfortable with him playing? Like what's the step-by-step that he has to go through to get it down?
Yeah, I mean, I think you get through the steps of, where the swelling's at, call an acceptable level. And then you start to ramp up. You do some exercises in the performance room. You start doing court work. And, then where you get to a point where you're able to go full speed contact type work.
I don't know, Chuck. Does that seem like something to where in 48 hours or less than that now could change for Kawhi Leonard?
God. Yeah, wow, we're having so many technical difficulties without Will here. No, it sounds so. Here, I will say, I guess I appreciate the transparency on what we think the steps are going to be. The first time we get transparency, sure, but that does not sound like something based on the Clippers practice schedule, which they scrimmaged on Thursday, which Ty Lue mentioned he only did because they had the extended time off. There was no player stuff today, so he has Saturday to get those more than three things done to play on 12:30 on Sunday. So I do not. It's a hard road.
Yeah, you'd have to condense a lot of activity into a 48-hour period based on the timing of when he first said that. And that alone might overload the right knee, which
because there's been no activity is the other part of this that we learned.
Yeah, here's the other clip on that, which is talking about conditioning, because I think what the reporters were driving at here was that 25% of practice that he participated in last Tuesday, according to Coach Lue. I'm pretty sure all that meant was mental preparation, because Lawrence Frank spoke about that and said he's been participating in, the film review sessions and everything else. So here was a more direct question regarding what he has done conditioning wise.
Is he able to do any conditioning type things?
Yeah, I mean, there are different things. I mean, right now, it's just more, just with the modalities, but in due time. And, there's a lot of different things, that he can do, that he is, but we're just avoiding any contact work at this point and to reduce any of the pounding.
Does that seem like a guy who is very close to returning at the moment, or at least by game one, to you when he goes to saying in due time? And he's talking about modalities, which I'm guessing is we're talking ice, stem, things like that. It doesn't seem like they're trying to put a lot
context.
That's how I interpret that.
I have no idea. I just don't know.
It doesn't seem like they want to stress out the knee much at all. Like they're being extra cautionary about it and precautionary when it comes to the load and stress they're putting on his right knee, because they're concerned about it being more inflamed. The good news was he did say they had made some progress, but not enough to where it's at an acceptable point where they would put him out there. The other part of the good news was he said it's structurally sound regarding, I guess, the ACL and the meniscus tear over the last couple of years. That's good news. The bad news is it's been almost 3 weeks and the inflammation in a surgically repaired knee is still significant enough to where he's questionable heading into game one.
Yep.
And again, for him to get to a point, of playing in game one, those steps that he talked about in the first clip we played, sounds like all that is part of the process before he would be playing on the court. And I understand people wanting to cope and wishful thinking, and this is
Sure.
devastating type
Hell,
of
yeah, I do.
news
Yeah.
completely.
It sucks.
But for everyone to continue to accuse the Clippers and Lawrence Frank of gamesmanship when he was actually confronted with that by our friend Joey Lynn and he addressed it, do you guys really think that this is mind games at this point with the Dallas Mavericks? Do you think the Clippers need to be so desperate to play mind games in the first round? They're a 4 seed with 4 Hall of Famers. Do you think that wouldn't come across maybe as a little bit weak, or that they could be scared of the Dallas Mavericks if they did that you're resorting to those tactics? I don't see the Clippers doing that. I believe Lawrence Frank when he says it's not gamesmanship. Do you not understand that he may have to work with the Dallas Mavericks at some point for a trade or a move or something? And this could burn a bridge if he came out and had a press conference and it was a complete fabrication. Do you
Right,
really
just
think
lying.
he would do something like that? I don't. This is not a ruse. This is the honest truth. It's funny to me. I mentioned this to you yesterday at the barbecue, Chuck, but the same people who have been asking for more transparency and clarity, now that Lawrence Frank gives it to them as much as he can, they say, oh, well, that's just gamesmanship. Really? I guess he can't win, right?
No,
I guess he
mean,
can't win with
can't.
some people.
Because I do that's what sucks is like it's obviously never good to see Lawrence Frank do the presser, but he said what was happening. He told everyone that we don't know how the knee's going to react because we haven't been knowing for the last 3 weeks. And that's what's happening.
The news is what's definitive right now from that press conference. The update was really it's still too swollen to where they're comfortable letting him play at this point.
Right.
On Thursday. And therefore, swelling would have to go down, and he'd have to go through all those steps that we played and he talked about in the first video.
Day ready game is probably part of those steps, which I don't think you mentioned, but that's definitely part
of it. On court work.
Yeah.
That would also mean that he completes those without a setback, right? Mm-hmm. To where he does those to where he really ramps up and it doesn't become more inflamed or swell up more. So that's a lot of hoops there.
So you're thinking not going to be there for game one?
Seems unlikely.
Seems unlikely. And then we, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but game 2 is on Tuesday. Then you got to hope that everything goes great on Monday.
The counter to this, and when more of the gamesmanship mind games talk that has been circulating on X over the last 48 hours has been, well, Law said this on the Athletic podcast hours before this Lawrence Frank press conference that he believes, Law Murray of the Athletic, that Kawhi would be playing in game 1. He wasn't sure the minutes. He wasn't sure,
right,
the level of health, if he'd be at full strength and all these things. And you combine that with the Shams Charania report of intense workouts, and that seems to fly in the face of what Lawrence Frank said. So who do you believe? Well, I'm going to believe Lawrence Frank in what he said about the situation because I don't think he has much to gain. I don't think it's gamesmanship at all. I don't think they would be fooling the Dallas Mavericks into anything at this point. You don't think when you actually go down that path of logic of how this could be gamesmanship. So they're not telling them whether or not Kawhi Leonard is going to play. So then if he does, it's this big surprise to the Dallas Mavericks. Like they're unaware of how they would scheme against Kawhi Leonard. This is somebody they're so unfamiliar of playing against.
There's a great quote about scheming for Kawhi that we're going to talk about in the next segment, by the way.
The other side is if he's not playing and he's listed as questionable, and maybe they already know he's out, then they're less ready for whoever the substitute is. Is it going to be Russ? Is it going to be PJ? Is it going to be Amir? Is it going to be Norm? And they have to find different games plans for all these guys. hello,
game plan.
they've already been running through player profiles and how to defend all these guys. It's not a big adjustment, people. It's not keeping Dallas in the dark at all.
And it makes their game plan easier, right? Like,
Of course.
do you think
It's not going to throw them off if all of a sudden Norm is in the starting lineup? Oh my God, Dallas is
Right.
not going to know what to do with this. I'm telling you guys, this is not gamesmanship. You got to let it go.
Do you think because again, I have no intel on the scheduling of the Lawrence Frank presser. Do you think the presser was in response to the Shams update? Again, this is purely conjecture.
I don't know. It seemed like
I could see it being.
Tyronn Lue was flustered with the amount of questions. That's the other side of this.
Oh, but we should give a shout out to the beat reporters for getting this information.
Of
Wonderfully asked
They're
questions.
doing their job, and Coach Lue
Yes.
acknowledged that and
Very well.
apologized
Yeah.
for
They
first
killed
getting
it.
a little bit frustrated at the beginning of his press conference and saying,
Yeah.
look, and then he kind of backed off and
Right.
didn't want to go down
Shout
that
out Kelly
road. But
Johnson. Yeah.
here's another reason to not believe the gamesmanship aspect to this. Do you really think they would continually put Coach Lue in this position where he has to continue to take questions if Kawhi Leonard was fine all along and they knew he was going to play?
Right.
When Coach Lue has been frustrated by this, guys, they wouldn't do it. There's no line of logic where your gamesmanship theory makes sense. I'm sorry. Outside of just coping and being frustrated with it. And it's upsetting. I understand. This could end up being the fourth straight year where Kawhi Leonard either isn't available to start a playoff run or finish a playoff run. And I understand that could lead to wishful thinking and just hoping that all this is somehow a ploy to
Could be a
keep
dream.
Dallas on their toes.
We could all wake up and it actually will be Monday morning of earlier this week.
No one's more frustrated than Kawhi Leonard, first of all, with this. The
Oh,
guy
sure.
wants to play. He's a dog. He is one of the greatest playoff performers in the history of the game. He's not just a top 75 player ever. I think he's a top 10 playoff performer ever in the history of the league. In a 7-game series, I don't think there are 10 guys I would take over Kawhi Leonard in those situations. And then the organization's frustrated, of course, and the fans are frustrated. So I totally get it. I understand it. But I would believe Lawrence Frank in what he said yesterday.
Yeah.
I believe Lawrence Frank in what he said for all the reasons stated here. So we can put that aside now, I think.
I'm finished with it. Yeah, what we know for sure, Kawhi's listed as questionable. Unclear if that's going to be updated with an injury report tomorrow. If there is an update that perhaps is upsetting, we will be live to react to it. But that's where we're at with Kawhi, which is in the dark, probably not playing game one. We're going to get...
I think he plays in the series. I think it's unlikely he plays in game one, but it is likely he plays at some point in this series. That's what I'm going with.
At what level, we don't know, but I agree. He will be out there. Coming up, we're going to be talking some things the Mavs do on offense during Adam's high five segment, and then some keys to the game. We'll be picking our X factors and whatnot. If you're listening to the pod, thank you so much. Welcome if you're a new listener. Welcome. Hello to the Dallas fans. You guys are active on YouTube. We got some ads coming up on the audio. It's been loud for some people, and then we're talking Mavs offense and maybe some defense coming up in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in. It's Clips and Dip, episode 69, season 2 here. I'm Adam Hosland. We got Chuck Mockler, no Will Updike for this one, but the big three will be returning at some point. We're going to do a lot of shows, obviously, during
Will has knee swelling
this first round series.
That's why he's out.
I hope it's not that. It's not contagious or anything like that. But coming up, we'll talk about our X factors, which should be interesting because there are a lot of guys to choose from. But I guess it's time for a high five here, Chuck.
We got to do
it
the
that
high
time?
five. We got to talk
Okay.
about what the Clippers can do to win and combat because they still got to play on Sunday.
So people have been asking for this in the comment section, and we'll have one post every game throughout this series. That next episode, if you guys want a high five, we'll definitely have it for you. But I thought we'd do something a little bit different here today. which is
Done.
a high five on the Dallas Mavericks. Game
course.
tape on the
Yeah.
Dallas Mavericks.
We got to see these new look Mavs.
5 highlights from a revamped roster post trade deadline, because I could pull tape from Dallas taking on the Clippers, but the last time that happened was back in December.
Yeah, no one is on the team anymore.
Kind of irrelevant at this point. So this should be fun here as I pull up the YouTube. I was watching a lot of Dallas Mavericks highlights earlier today, but the game we're going to go from is their most well-known victory of the season, which would be that game against the Denver Nuggets with the Kyrie Irving game-winning push shot from 15 feet out with his left hand over Nikola Jokic, one of the most insane regular season game winners you will ever see. So I'll maximize this for us. And here we go. This is actually starting things off. And I believe this is Dallas's first possession here, as it's the 11:09 mark of the first quarter. But we'll talk about a little bit of Luka Doncic brilliance here as he brings the ball up from right to left. Has Michael Porter Jr. on him. Luka puts his right foot forward, gives Michael Porter Jr. a little bit of a pump fake. He falls for it, overcommits. This is the brilliance of Luka Doncic. Not many guys at this point, most players would just take that driving lane to the basket. Luka's going to get an even better look here by doing a little give and go with PJ Washington on the left wing, because he gets Aaron Gordon to have to come over and close out after this pass from PJ Washington, who then gives it right back to Luka Doncic. Now it's Nikola Jokic in a precarious position where it's no longer a big man that he has to cover for that isn't a high flyer on this Dallas Mavericks team. Yes, they have had Derek Lively. Now they have him and Daniel Gafford. So Jokic has to commit here. Luka Doncic is a big body himself, just goes right by him. Jokic, not a great rim protector, but that's just a spot you really can't win in.
You know what I see here that gives me some pause, I guess, is Terrence has been biting on pump fakes a lot to close the season. That's immediately what I thought of in that. So that is something to keep an eye on.
And look, it's understandable with Luka.
Of course. Oh, yeah. This isn't Luke Kennard territory or anything like that. Like, but
right.
This is he's been a little bitey on him.
Here's some of the defense that the Denver Nuggets tried in this game. Basically, it wasn't just a hedge and recover. They were trapping and blitzing on every screen that I saw. With, in this case, it's Derek Lively setting one for Luka Doncic. Watch what Dallas does here. Boom, both guys. And this is an interesting chess match because you have Luka and the Joker. Nikola Jokic, I think, is daring him at this point because he has his hands down to try a tough pass here.
Yeah.
At the last second, he puts his arms up, but Luka's too quick with it as he gives it back.
6'8". Yeah, he's like
Lively. Look at, it goes right through his hands. This doesn't happen very often. As crafty as Jokic is, watch how Luka is able to get this pass off. It's really just, there's a few guys that can make this. Whoo! Right through the Joker's hands, and he gets it to Derek Lively for an easy look there.
And that's going to be, that's going to be Zoo, who has more active hands. I believe that Zoo will have his hands up. We don't know what, because, Aaron Gordon's not doing the worst job right here, right? Like, he's at least trying to stick to Luka and stuff like that, which goes back to Zoo's point about guys getting to the ball quick on pick and roll and things like that. So this is about as good as you could play it from the Nuggets, right? Like,
this was their
pretty
game
close. Like,
the entire game they did this. Just get the ball out of Luka's hands, or in the same situation, they do it to Kyrie Irving too. But the ball is right there. Look what Jokic did. He had his hands down. He thought he could have the cat-like reflexes to at least get a hand on it and disrupt this pass, and it goes right through his hands to Lively. Unbelievable play there, but Luka Doncic is a basketball god. Yeah, here's another thing that Luka can do against you. This is more just Luka Doncic being that guy. But this is a cross-court pass from him. Here it comes again. They're committed. Get the ball out of Luka's hands. This isn't a hedge and recover. This is just a hard trap in a blitz here by Aaron Gordon next to Jokic. But here, instead of going to the obvious guy in the roller in Lively, who has MPJ on him, Luka throws like a no-look over-the-shoulder pass to Maxi Kleba here. Watch this. I guess
Yeah,
not
this
so
thing was
much a
crazy.
no-look. But as Jokic tries to drop back to help at the last second, he goes to Maxi, who's in the near side corner. Now they're getting the Denver Nuggets in rotation. He gives it up to Exum. Michael Porter Jr. comes over to close out. He attacks the closeout, and now they have the advantage once again as Jokic has to step up here, but he's got a lob threat behind him in Lively in this case, who gets the easy lob from Exum, who has had a fantastic season, by the way, for the Dallas Mavericks and could be one of their X factors. Their best guy really coming off the bench outside of Derek Lively is the big man.
You know what I see when I see this clip? I see
Payne?
Zoo. Yes, I see Zoo having to make that decision. I see Zoo probably making the right decision. But if the Clippers rotations, which has been the issue on guys getting to the paint and stuff like that, and knowing if you're the low man and things like that, if it's not at the best that it's been all season, we're going to see a lot of this body language, a lot of the, you know what I mean? We've seen it. We've seen it when this defense hasn't been what it needs to be. So I'm getting some sense of dread during this high five. Not that I was expecting it to be easy, but you know what I'm saying? With the fact with Kawhi probably not playing game one, which it's not like any game isn't a must win, but whoo boy, is it important on Sunday.
We give uncomfortable truths here.
I don't know.
Uncomfortable and inconvenient truths. The Dallas Mavericks are a very good ball club that are completely different than the team the Clippers saw earlier this season. The good news is Ivica Zubac is a much better rim protector than Nikola Jokic. That is not his strength. That is probably his biggest weakness, actually, in his game. You can attack him, and Dallas, they were great at it in this game. Let's see. I think we got more from Luka Doncic here. This is, let's see. Oh, for those saying Luka and Irving are food defensively, remember, for Dallas having been a top 10 defense over almost half the season, their last 35 games of the year, pretty much all post-trade deadline, every team knows that they aren't the best defenders, yet they remained a top 10 defense. How could that be possible? Yes, their weaknesses that the Clippers have to try to pick on, but they've been playing much better and giving a better defensive effort for a long time now, consistently. Dallas went 16-2 during an 18-game stretch at the very end of the season where they had the number one rated defense. And I agree, some of it is a little bit inflated.
That's
a little bit inflated, Chuck, because of their opponents. They have beaten one top 6 opponent in either conference post All-Star break, and that would be the Denver Nuggets in this ball game. But watch this. Luka doesn't just fight through 2 screens here. First, an off-ball screen from Aaron Gordon. Then it's a little DHO from Jokic to Michael Porter Jr., the man Luka is guarding here. Watch this effort. Boom, boom, around 2. Luka's all over him. Luka loses him here for a second. He's still all over him. Porter Jr. makes this shot, but I mean, tip your cap. That's a Luka Doncic type of shot, basically, right? There's nothing more you could do. Defensively, this is a great effort.
What was the second quarter? Yeah.
Look at that. He's all over him.
If you're putting, Luka onto Michael Porter Jr., it's like if you're Jason Kidd, you're obviously feeling not too terrible about that. Because Michael Porter's going to run around. You know what I mean? Like, you need to stick with him. Like,
yeah, that's a guy you have to hide him against. And Luka gave everything he could defensively here on this possession. They give an effort like that, and you would imagine they would. It's a playoff series now, not just a big game on a Sunday
Sure.
showcase here against the Denver Nuggets to get a feather in your cap type of victory. And then our last clip here in the high five is something very dangerous. And this is the small pick and roll, which is more of a pick and pop here. Kyrie Irving here, he ends up having Braxton Key on him. Luka has Aaron Gordon, the better defender, on him. Watch how they get the easy switch. Luka, ISO, step back, left wing, 3, bucket. It is now Aaron Gordon. I would guess in a playoff setting, he's doing a better job fighting over the top of this, or they're at least talking about that in
But that's the thing
timeouts.
the Clippers need to do, right? That's the thing we've seen the Clippers do is not own up enough on defense to getting through screens and fighting over that stuff.
They switch far too easily. It's going to
Right.
happen. And this is what makes them much more dangerous now. They have someone like Kyrie Irving that you have to account for because Gordon's thinking, I can't even hedge. I have to stick with Kyrie at some point here. I can't help out. I can't do anything. So it's just the two-man game that the Clippers are going to have to be aware of. There's your high five from the Dallas Mavericks perspective here.
But to say all that, the Clippers can still win this game. We've been down for these last 30 minutes because Kawhi Leonard is not playing game one probably, and that sucks ass. But there are ways for the Clippers to win this game. We just talked about a little bit them briefly, but I think we should start with the pick and roll defense is kind of like square one for me in terms of what this team's going to look like to set the tone early, right? Like they've been hyper aware of what they need to do from all we've heard from Zoo, especially this week. Shout out Christopher Henderson too for asking really good questions to Zoo about the pick and roll. But he talked about how they need to get through screens to get back in front of Luka when they run the pick and roll, and they need that to happen to get a win on Sunday.
It's really hard.
It's
Luka
very
tries
hard.
to keep you in the rear view.
And you got the roller.
Luka tries to keep you in the rear view. You got to worry about the roller, but Luka can just step back and shoot over the top while you're trying to fight through a screen like that. That's what I worry about. That's why the Clippers are prone to switch, to not give up that space, to not give them that half a second to just get an open look to great shooters. That's the advantage of switching in theory. Now, if it's a beat to Zubats who continually gets spammed and gets run into the action multiple times at the very beginning of the game, maybe they have something for it this time around. Yep. I would rather just have Luka's man, likely Paul George, just fight through it and not switch there with a
Make him think that you're there the whole time. He's got to be not thinking, they're just going to switch. Great. He can't be. And we know there's other guys on the Mavs. We understand that, people watching this. But the way that this offense is going to work with Luka playing, let's call it 39, 40 minutes, is the ball's going to be in his hands. He's going to be hunting switches and stuff like that. And Paul George especially, we're going to need Paul George to be a 30-point scorer on Sunday and someone who's fighting through screens and playing good defense. It's got to be diet Kawhi, basically.
If there's no Kawhi Leonard, more is going to be asked from Paul George on both ends. Yeah, he's your other superstar, getting paid max money for a reason. That's what he has to do. He can't play one side of the basketball just because Kawhi Leonard is out. And he's primed, I think, for this moment, considering how he was playing over the last month and a half.
Yeah, for sure. And so Kawhi probably out game one. Who are you envisioning as we're talking pick and roll defense? Who's taking his spot? And we obviously know what they need to do, which is play the best they've played all year on defense and communicate and know the sets. Are we thinking it's Amir?
I would guess Amir, but it could be Russ. It could be Norm. I don't think it's going to be Norm, though, because they don't want to give one more guy for Luka to go after to start the ball game.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to do that. I think Amir, because you'd feel okay about Amir getting in those switches.
Yeah.
And Luka's huge. Don't get me wrong. He will just back you down. Like, he just he never lets you off
That's
the
where
hook,
the soft.
just like Jokic.
That's where that doubling that we saw that was really good from the Clippers in that Pels game earlier. That we need that level of doubling because I every year we play Luka, we talk about like don't let him get the meaty triple double, right? Don't let him get like 15 assists because that's when shit is just going really bad. So
yeah, Coach Lewis talked about it a bunch.
and
this week.
we're gonna see some guys decide to double sometimes, which is not good, but if they can do it in the best way they've done it all year, which was like against the Pels, against Ingram and stuff like that, where you're showing a little bit, you are engaging in the double, but then you're making the right decision at the right time to back off, and everyone's rotations was on point as well. Like that needs to happen to the nth degree.
Again, one way to beat Dallas is to let Luka get his, wear himself out, and hopefully by the fourth quarter, just like in 2021, he doesn't have the legs on some of those step backs. He isn't able to drive past guys and get to the basket as easily. And it's just a rope-a-dope strategy. Can it still work with Kyrie Irving? I'm assuming we're going to find out at some point because you do have to pick your poison with this team. So
And Kyrie runs.
You give up.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying you give up to fight through those screens and to not give him that advantage against Ivica Zubac. You give up Luka Doncic the ability to go right into a step back three there and just hope he's missing, hoping he's off. Because either way, if Zoo steps into it and is his primary defender then on the switch, he feels very comfortable. So I'd rather just give him an open look than let him get comfortable against Ivica Zubac over and over again because he takes away your rim protector.
Yeah. And Zoo's been literally one of the best rim protectors all season.
He finished top three. He finished behind Rudy Gobert and Kristaps Porzingis of guys that played a certain amount of minutes.
And Kyrie, we talked about, I think last episode, Kyrie runs the pick and roll post All-Star break about at half the frequency of Luka. So we'll see what that looks like when Luka sits, because the other part about Kawhi not playing, which sucks, is that Luka might not have to play as many minutes. He's still going to be over 35, but I hope we have to make him play at least 40. Because and the Mavs, like, we talk about Luka shooting the three a lot, but the team itself, they don't need the three. They get 51% of their points from the two, 35.5 from three, and the other rest from free throws, basically. So, like, this team does score two, right? Like, they're all right at the basket. It's modern basketball. It's right at the basket, or it's 3 points. And they have guys. It's Gafford, who's been an incredible roller. I did watch a video of the Clippers torching Daniel Gafford when he was on the Wizards. Very different team, very different personnel, but at least there is some familiarity there. James Harden is cerebral enough to remember that kind of stuff, which does, talk about someone else who needs to play well, who has an upcoming contract scenario. James Harden's got to be, I know we're talking about defense, but the Clippers seemingly, I guess, need to lean into offense, because I don't know how you lean into defense without Kawhi out there. He's got to be on point as well.
Daniel Gafford ended up shooting post All-Star break 81% from the field. Derek Lively was at 76%.
Great.
Both of them. And as I've been reminded in the comments, Derek Lively is 7'1". He may not be the broadest guy, but he is 7'1".
Here's some roll man numbers for the Mavs. Who do you think has the best points per possession as a roll man for the Mavs in the pick and roll? The guy who sets the screen.
On the season or since the trade deadline? Is it Lively then for the whole season?
Kyrie. 1.5, 1.5 points per possession as the roll man. It's not very often. It's 1.156.
Yeah.
And then not too far away from him is Dwight Powell at 1.5 on this list.
Well, Kyrie, I said this during the 2016 finals. I think he might be the best finisher at the rim for a guy under 6'6" in NBA history. The shots, the creativity, the acrobatic layups he could get over much bigger opponents at the rim. I've never seen anything like it. Steve Nash had some of that. There's a few smaller guys in NBA history, guards, that were great at it, but I don't know if anybody has better touch as an undersized, especially guard in this league. He's what, 6'2", 6'1", than Kyrie Irving. He's incredible.
He's very good.
Floaters, but he can go left, he can go right, either hand.
Offensively, we're beating a dead horse here. No disrespect, Mavericks fans. But getting into your sets with real intention, hint, hint, remember that word later, and quickly, right? Like this is mostly on Harden to get guys into their shit quickly, especially without Kawhi there. There was a very funny quote today from Derek Jones Jr. on guarding star players like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and James Harden. He said, treat them like any other man. I just go out there and guard. I watch film. I look at people's tendencies. I watch what they like to do. I watch what they don't like to do, and try to make them do what they don't like to do. Jones Jr. says Kawhi Leonard doesn't like to go left. Well, he's probably not playing game one, so good luck with that one, idiot. I'm trying to laugh.
Is that gamesmanship? Is that gamesmanship by Derek Jones
It's a
Jr.?
crazy quote. It's probably just something weird to say. Like when you're good at, you know how like defensive backs in the NFL are such like lunatics, right? Like it'll be an incomplete pass they've done nothing with, and they'll be like celebrating and doing the seatbelt celebration. Defensive specialists in the NBA are very similar to this mindset of being like, you just make him go left. He's just like any other guy. It's very obvious he's not. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and James Harden.
He was watching too many of those We Done with the 90s videos about Jordan
Right,
having no left hand. Because I'm here to
is that
tell
even
you,
true?
Kawhi
This isn't like this. It's literally the first time it's ever been brought up. It's playoff gamesmanship, I'm sure. I hope Kawhi puts it up on the bulletin board or whatever. But it was just funny to hear. But it's like, okay, man, you make him go left, I guess.
Kawhi is as close as you can probably get to a flawless player in this league.
Well,
What's his biggest flaw? Like he's not the greatest passer.
Durability is his greatest flaw.
It's not. I don't consider health like a skill. I think it's luck.
Oh yeah, he has the worst luck then.
Yes, apparently. But when it comes to on the court acumen, and Kawhi Leonard is perfect. He can get to his spots. But he has a plethora of ways to beat you.
Probably won't be doing that in game one, which is a damn shame.
We'll see. I'm not totally giving up on it. I'm just saying
he's not out.
It's less likely after that Lawrence Frank press
and we have heard nothing definitive. I've said this before from my perspective. I have no sources. It's all scuttlebutt.
Well, you listened to Law earlier today. It sounds like he's backed off of saying he's playing game one
Law
now,
was saying he doesn't expect Kawhi to play game one. He expects him to play game two or push to play in game two.
So he heard Lawrence Frank's press conference and went from saying he's playing game one. He doesn't know how much.
Which was fair.
He doesn't know where he'll be at health-wise, but he was going to give it a shot to most likely game two he'll try to play. And guess what? If the Clippers won game one without him, I don't think he's playing game two. I think if they got the split, unless he was feeling great, unless the swelling really went down. But I would guess you'd be happy with the split and giving Kawhi Leonard another week off to get ready for Friday in Dallas in game 3.
Yeah, it's Tuesday to Friday. Yeah, maybe.
Well, not
maybe. I would like to go up to.
I'm just guessing.
No, yeah, that is fair.
Well, like you said earlier, they could get the split even if they had Kawhi Leonard in the first 2 games. But they could also get the split without him. You got 2 games at home. You can get
you need the split without him. The last key to the game, specifically on Sunday, it's probably for the whole series too. Post All-Star break, the Mavs were 11th in percentage of points off of turnovers. The Clippers were 29th. So I would not like the Clippers to give a team that is very good at converting turnovers to points easier chances to score more points and beat us in the possession battle. This isn't talking about rebounding. We obviously know that's going to be huge. No idea what the offensive glass looks like We don't really know what the rotations are going to look like for the center. But in terms of like live ball turnovers, Paul George, and stuff like that, we cannot give this team free points, especially when the Clippers have not been able to cash in on their free points so far leading up.
Yeah. And post All-Star break, the Clippers got worse when it came to turnovers. Right. They turned it over 13.5 times per game. The Dallas Mavericks were almost one turnover less better per game than the Clippers at 12.6. We know it's been one of their biggest Achilles heels. When they can set their defense, they're much better. Their transition defense has been bad. The effort's been bad.
The effort will be good on Saturday.
Team has been
the
bad.
effort will be good on Saturday.
Yeah. It could turn around just by guys all of a sudden wanting to be more connected
back against
out
the
there.
walls, like we got to believe in something.
This team, their identity in the 2-1-3 era is stepping up when the chips are down, is being resilient and finding ways to win ball games or a series when they shouldn't. They weren't supposed to win that series against Utah. People were laughing at them when they thought, oh, Paul George is going to collapse under the pressure of being the number one guy now that Kawhi Leonard's out for Game 5 on the road in that game, in that building against the Utah Jazz, and he had one of the best games of his career. So we haven't seen Paul George in a playoff series since then.
And he wants a new contract, and they haven't signed it yet. That's really building up for Paul George and James Harden to earn the shit out of their next contracts. It's the way that we're shaping up in this. Coming up, we're going to be talking our X factors. Before that, there might be some loud ads. So if that's been the case for you, lovely audio listener, go ahead and turn it down. We're talking that. And then we have another keyword giveaway for the Steve Ballmer bobblehead. Ads coming up in 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back, audio listeners. We usually pick a player of the game that has been tied. If you're new to the show, welcome. Welcome to the YouTube. Welcome to the audio. Usually we pick a Kawhi Leonard player of the game. We named it this because we couldn't just pick Kawhi Leonard every single game because we wanted to. Too easy. And so even before the news yesterday, I had named this pick our Kawhi Leonard honorable game 1 X factor of the game.
I would say if you want to pick Kawhi Leonard this time, because you're really making a bold pick.
That'll be Will's pick. We'll say that Will is not here. He has not let us know who he thinks his pick is, but we're going to say Will picks Kawhi Leonard. He picked PJ last time he wasn't here, so he hasn't had the best track record of that.
Will believes he'll be available for game 1.
Let's put that on. Let's circulate that. Clippers insider Will Updike believes that Kawhi Leonard will be good for game 1. Adam, who is your X factor for game 1? I have so many names. I've been thinking about this for the last 2 days, and you could honestly say any name, and I could be convinced.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of guys you could go with here.
Unless you say Kai Jones, in which case we're ending the pod.
And look smart. I gotta go with your guy PJ Tucker though, Chuck. I think no, I'm not going with PJ. Although you never know if he got the start. If Kawhi Leonard's out, you never know if that could be a possibility, or was first or second off the bench in the big man rotation for playing the 5 spot. I wouldn't be shocked by that.
I would not be shocked either. I wouldn't feel good, but I wouldn't be shocked.
I'm going to go with the guy who starts in that position. He's not only my player to watch for game 1, he's my overall player to watch for the series and player of the game to watch. Ivica Zubac.
I mean, that's a good pick.
The more footage I've looked at with the Dallas Mavericks and how good they've been when it comes to getting the ball in the hands of Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively now, is just having 2 elite rollers going to the basket. We mentioned the percentages post All-Star break and what they've been shooting. It's because they're getting a lot of dunks. That's the reason Daniel Gafford had 33 straight made field goals at one point, and I think another 25 straight at another point. It's insanity. Luka hasn't had guys like this reliable in that spot before, and they have a connection already. Daniel Gafford is fit hand in glove with this team. So Zubats is really going to have to be stellar defensively. In going back to the high five and looking at some of those clips with Jokic and being in no man's land where he has to make a decision there, who he wants to guard, Zoo has to pick right. And he's been great all season long. He's been great in his tenure as a Clipper. He's been great in his career when it comes to rim defense since day one, really, as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. But I don't think it could be more important than this time right now, especially if they don't have Kawhi Leonard, for him to give them a chance to slow down Dallas defensively. But then on the other end, he's got to punish them, and they have to look for him. I think for them to have success in this series, Ivica Zubac needs to average around 32 minutes per game, at least, and get you 17 and 12. I really believe that. If Kawhi is back, then, you could make those numbers a little bit lower.
Sure.
But I think Ivica Zubac is the guy because Gafford, at least, is undersized against him on the other end. Ivica Zubac also has to be good in the short roll, which he has been, especially as of late.
His biggest jumps this year have been as a passer in the short roll. He's made mostly nothing but the right decision at finding guys out of the short roll. That's a great point.
That's how you get some great looks from distance.
And how you stay on the floor if you're Zoo.
I think as long as he is not just doing his job defensively, but being involved on the offensive end, Coach Lou will see it as he's too important of a piece to take off the floor because he's giving them offense now too. That to me is everything in this series for the Clippers. And it would show that he's overcome some of the struggles and being played off the floor like he was in 2021 by Luka and the Dallas Mavericks. It would show a tremendous amount of growth for still a relatively young player. And it also means to stay on the floor, he has to stay out of foul trouble. So he just has to be sound with his rotations and not be put into tough spots where he's trying to. And look, it's not just about him collectively, defensively. If there are five guys on a string, you're not forcing Ivica Zubac into all of these bad spots if guys are staying in front of their man. It's still going to happen here and there.
It's Luka and Kyrie.
But if your point of attack defense and the effort is there, it's not going to have Ivica Zubac in these tough spots too often.
That's a great pick. I was basing my pick if you were going to pick a bench guy or a starter, because we know obviously James Harden needs to be, as Brian Seaman so eloquently says, the straw that stirs the drink. We need Paul George to be at his absolute two-way best. We need Terrence Mann to continue to shoot well and be fearless on defense and crash the boards when Luka's on him on the defensive side of the ball. And we need Zoo to do his things too. I'm torn between a very popular pick, which is Russell Westbrook, because this is a chance for Russ to kind of pick up from where he left off on the good stuff last year in the playoffs. This is shaping, this is why you get Harden, all this stuff. This is also why you get Russ, because he played 40 minutes the other week. He's a guy who can just go. And if he's being controlled, deliberate, energetic Russ, again, I know those all three kind of sound like weird mixed together. He is going to be huge for the Clippers to win game one. He needs to make his shots at the rim.
Russ is the ultimate be quick, don't hurry line from John Wooden.
Yes, 100%. Funny Russ story. My orthodontist at the UCLA School of Dentistry went to a dance with Russell Westbrook his freshman year at UCLA. And I was like, whoa. I was like, what was that like? She was like, he was so quiet. It was before he became Russ and all this stuff. It was very funny. Shout out Dr. Benko. Anyway, Russ is a very easy pick because if Russ is playing well in this game, that usually helps the Clippers. People who listen to this pod know that I am not a Russ stan by any means, but I believe he can be very good. If he's off the bench in this one, he's going to have to be electric. It was between Russ and then kind of going with your Zoo pick, whoever the hell is spelling Zoo is my other X factor, because I don't know who it's going to be. It's Tice is where I think is what the rotation leans towards. He can space the floor. Time machine, but
I think it might go Tice, PJ.
I think Plumlee. I don't want to see Plumlee in this series. Plumlee is bad right now.
Well, it's a bad series matchup for him because if Luka gets the switch, he's going to be cooked. If Daniel Tice has to guard a little bit on the perimeter, you feel better about that. Same with PJ Tucker.
Yeah. And it is also hard for me to pick Terrence because they're going to stick Luka on Terrence defensively. So I assume. So Terrence needs to be, LA Clippers film pointed this out, crashing the hell out of the offensive boards, just making Luka have to run around a lot. We're not going to be dumping the ball to Terrence and say, go to work on Luka. Nothing like that. But you can make him tired by making him box you out, making him aware of where you are. He's got that little step back in the mid-range that he has now. He's been quick fire from three. So my one player that I'm picking is Terrence Mann, Russell Westbrook, and whoever spells Zubats. Those are my 3 X factors. Those are my 3-1 X factor for the game. And the Clippers might need 3 X factors to win game 1. Is the other part though too. Unfortunately.
Yeah. If they don't have Kawhi Leonard, a few guys are going to have really stellar performances, maybe playing above their heads a little bit. But that's what it takes.
That's what it takes.
That's what we saw in game 3 against Phoenix, where they should have won that damn game if the ref just called the take foul by Devin Booker, raised his hand, that led to a Russ turnover.
Absolutely insane. So what's your pick for game 1? Are we going Clips?
You could ask me any game this series, and I'll go with the Clippers to win.
What?
I do think it's a good opportunity to steal a game without Kawhi Leonard in game 1.
Yeah.
Just because there is going to be a little bit of a feeling out process. So you never know, how that game could swing or who gets off to a quick start in the first quarter as the chess match is underway.
Yeah. Shout out Ty Lue. Perhaps the 4th X factor for the Clippers. So now that we have gotten the fun stuff out of the way, let's get to the serious stuff. The contest giveaway, the bobblehead giveaway. We are giving away. Also, we believe I got word from my connections at the post office that the Harden bobblehead was sent out. Correct, is what I heard. Adam, is that true?
I know I don't have any connections to the post office.
Gotta get in where you fit.
After what happened with the Intuit Dome
stole all those damn rocks. We are giving away the Steve Ballmer bobblehead, so you can have a billionaire bobblehead on your desk. We've given away 1 keyword already, which we're not going to.
We don't have to give it out again.
We're giving out.
You can go back and find that episode and find the keyword.
Last one. You can go find it. The next keyword, Adam, would you like to reveal this keyword?
I can do that.
It's in the rundown.
Keyword number 2 is intention.
Intention.
Not intent, not intentional. Intention.
We're going to have the 3rd keyword on depending if we go live on Saturday, we'll have a keyword, but we're definitely going live after the game on Sunday. We'll have the 3rd keyword there. You get all 3 keywords. You comment them. You get the Steve Ballmer bobblehead. It's that easy. Please be in California if you win. We've spent a fortune on international shipping. One last piece of house cleaning that we need to do. I am begging anyone out there who's listening or watching to send us the final Give No Quarter results. We owe a charity of our choice. It can't be the Chuck Fund. It can't be the Adam Fund. We owe it. We owe a charity of our choice. However many quarters, we'll donate it, not in quarters, that the Clippers lost. So please update us on that. We have no way to find that information. Just send it to us, please. And we'll donate.
Yeah.
Adam, one positive. So we already broke it down. If anything crazy happens tomorrow, we'll be doing a live. If not, definitely a live after game 1 on Sunday. We'll put that out as audio too, but that's going to be on youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. Subscribe, get an alert. That'll be fun. We're going to have a full episode out on Monday with the whole crew talking what needs to happen in game 2. Maybe we'll have a fun Kawhi update. But before we fully send you out, Adam, one quick positive thing for these genius listeners and the Mavs ones. to go into the weekend.
I really think that the situation with Kawhi Leonard, regardless of if he plays or not, if he does play, I don't think he's going to be 100%. He could end up being on a minutes restriction.
Hate
Who
it.
knows? But it has put this team, you mentioned it earlier, in that familiar position where their backs are against the wall, where they have to meet the moment and play with a certain level of effort and urgency out there, which has always been when this Clippers team is at their best. When they have that level of desperation, when they are digging deep, I don't want to see them have to get down 2-0 for that to happen. It may just happen based on the fact that we don't know the status of Kawhi Leonard, and therefore guys are a little bit more focused, a little bit more locked in because they know they have to be. I could see this Clippers team thriving once again in that predicament where it's a stay ready type of all hands on deck Clippers game and performance because they know they have to rise above if they don't have Kawhi or if they have him at 80% or something. So I don't know. This is their identity. This is who they have been over 5 years, more so than anything else. A resilient team that shows up and plays their best, typically when their best is required in these moments.
There you have it. Game 1, Sunday at 12:30. Memorize what Adam just said. Tell it to all your friends who are doubting that the Clippers are going to be able to make something happen. We will be back with y'all right after the game on Game 1, maybe even before. Will sends his regards. We have no idea where he is. We hope he's safe. Adam, hope you have a great rest of your evening. Hope everyone else listening and watching has a great rest of their evening and weekend. And as always, let's go Clips.